right, this is Together We Rise.
Yes.
I'm Sean,
And I'm Nikia.
and today we're going to be talking about looking into the mirror and how do you feel? Like, do you feel rejected or do you feel accepted? And we always like to start off with a story. And my wife didn't know which story I was going to pick, but actually, this is the one. Really, I had to think about the biggest time I felt rejected, and actually, that was probably during my first marriage, and when we decided to get divorced. So now, the part of the rejection is when the other person decided to step out of the marriage and really be involved with other relationships. And I remember that feeling of just feeling that this is, you know, well, the biggest rejection, right? The person that you were supposed to be with saying, well, I don't want to be with you no more. They lying to you, which was a big question thing. They lying to you, say not with so what. And you doing, I know some of y'all know if you was in a relationship, someone is stepping out. You like the spidey sense is tingling. You know what it means. You know what's going on, and you're feeling all those different feelings in that. But when we finally decided that was well, before that hey, this isn't the way to go, and but she was already moving on. That was my biggest rejection. Just trying to understand that, being upset with myself. I was upset with her. Was upset with God. I was upset with everybody, and all kinds of things, and saying what's going on. So that was my biggest rejection. Was that?
Okay. Well, my biggest rejection that I felt, of course, is when my ex husband started stepping out. But doing his stepping out, it was still like, I still want to be with you, but I'm also with her. And so my thing with that was dealing with it, which I kind of psyched myself out, and I started telling myself, well, he's just with them, but he loves me, type thing. And so when I
Mm-hmm.
looked in the mirror, because it wasn't just his infidelity, but it was also the verbal and physical abuse that I was experiencing when he came home. So it's like, okay, I'm allowing you to go out and do this, but now you still coming home and still abusive. You still not happy. And so what I did is when I looked at myself in the mirror, I honestly looked at myself, and me,
Mm-hmm.
not even my ex, but me, I started rejecting me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And where I couldn't stand the person that I saw in the mirror. I rejected her. I could not stand her. I looked at her as being weak, worthless, unloved, unable to be loved. And it's like I literally looked at myself as a betrayal. Like, how you betray you? And I just remember how I felt, about myself. And that wasn't a good feeling. So,
Yeah.
I never knew that you could actually reject yourself until
Yeah.
the day I looked in the mirror and I honestly felt rejected. I rejected me.
Right. And I think when you're in those type of situations and you're like facing something personal, it's becoming like a personal crisis,
Yes.
right? It's a personal self identity attack, right? Because
Yes.
whatever identity you had prior to that is now is on a weak foundation, right?
That's
It's
it.
like it basically it's kind of like you're sweeping your foundation away,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, whoa, what's going on? You're I would put it like you're in the middle of a hurricane, and will that foundation is breaking apart, and literally you're seeing it breaking apart,
Right.
right? Whatever way you see
And
to
one
see
of the
that.
things, because I know for me as a female, and I know as females out there, you probably can relate when you've gone through an abusive relationship and you reject yourself because you're like, how could I tolerate it or stay in something like that for such a long time? But I always have been curious on the men's side of things. When
Mm-hmm.
you felt rejected, and now it's not the man being unfaithful, but it's the woman being unfaithful. I
Mm-hmm.
always wondered because I was on the other side as the man being unfaithful, and most of the time you hear the stories from women about a man being unfaithful, but you was a good man, and you had a woman step out on you. How is that for a man? That's
I mean,
always been my curiosity. Does it hurt? What does
but
it
does it
do?
hurt? Yeah, it definitely hurt.
I don't
That
know.
definitely hurt.
You
Yeah,
know?
it definitely hurt. It don't hurt. That no, yeah, it don't hurt. Like it was meant. It don't hurt. Well, yeah, it hurts. It hurts. So you are, and because of that, because of stereotypes that men don't get cheated on, it's women
Right.
that get cheated on. So that is a whole another stigma to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
That you say like, wait a minute, how did that happen? Like you ask, it attacks your manhood, it attacks your, why that happened, and we had came and talk about some of those things, but it's hard for men. Actually, I think for men to even talk about that. So you
Mm-hmm.
like who you going like women talk about that with other women. They're like, what we gonna well, my person they stepping up on me. Like like what that don't normally what the normal discussion on that.
Right.
Men is going, I just slept with another woman, and like your boys are like, what? Yeah, pounding like no. What? See, I'm not saying that of course stereotypically, but
Right.
again, you have to be. It's no matter where you at, and you're the one that's
Mm-hmm.
being affected. Like you're not the one doing something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You are definitely impacted on that. No matter what. So I would say as a man, it made me, of course, upset, angry. Like why I was faithful. I mean, shoot, I could have done that too, right? I mean, those different
Oh, so
things
you
that
saying you could have
you,
went wild
yeah,
too,
you could
huh?
went crazy, all those different things, right? But you staying faithful. I mean, you probably did you have some of those same thoughts
I
about
had
that?
a lot of those thoughts. For me, I actually stayed in mine through 25 affairs, and I
Oh, that's a lot of
actually,
fears.
yeah.
That's a lot. That's
And
that's a lot.
it was due to the simple fact
Not laughing at your
that
fears.
I got you. It was due to the simple fact that I psyched myself out.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And it was funny because my ex, I call him a numbnuck because I didn't think he had it all upstairs. Because after he would smoke some weed, it was like confession time
Mm-hmm. Oh,
on his
okay.
end. So he would actually come and tell me the females he was with, and a couple of them I actually knew. Some I babysit for, and
Mm-hmm.
some was friends and
But
everything like that. And
you
I
know
mean,
that
it was a
yeah.
blow,
You
but
know
that's why I looked at it. For me, it was that weak point when you reject yourself
right.
and you look at yourself as a betrayal, and you just feeling like, hey, this is what I deserve.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And that's where I was. That's where you have that low self esteem and that you have no self respect. But
Well, I would say for me, I think it was more of didn't want to stop the marriage or because I think we stayed 7 years longer than we needed. We had a 14 years, about 14 years, like probably like six or the last. The last 2 years was it was completely separated, but I think, but 14 years altogether. I know, like after year 7, it should have probably like year 8 ended. I mean, that was like the end of all the rest of the stuff. But you're staying in something because how other people thinking.
yes,
Wait a minute, now this is going to look bad on you. Both of us got married really young, so
yeah,
of course people say you shouldn't get
got
married,
married.
right? And you got kids, so how that's
Yeah.
going to impact the children and all that good stuff. So with all those things, how do you change that? How do you start to
Yes.
move from that rejection and
To
feel
the
to
acceptance.
being feeling back
And
accepted?
I get this a lot because people always ask me, how did I find the strength to leave a 10-year abusive marriage? I would say altogether the first 3 years was good, but after that, the last 7 was very abusive. So, how did I get the strength? And I always say that the Holy Spirit had an opportunity during the time me and my husband and my ex-husband was arguing to get a message to me. And we was in the car, we was arguing, and he looked at me. He says, the day that you realize how beautiful you are on the inside will be the day you leave me.
Okay.
And that stuck with me. And so when I looked in the mirror and I started looking at myself, I was trying to find that beauty. And when I found that beauty inside, that's when I got the strength to leave.
Okay, so what we're gonna do when we come back, we're gonna talk a little bit more about that. We're gonna talk about, hey, when you facing that crisis, how you gonna take advantage of that crisis, and you're listening to what
Together we rise.
And we'll be right back. Welcome to Together We Rise podcast show. My name is Sean.
I'm Nikea, and this show is dedicated to help you become relentless and inspired.
Help you build your self-confidence and empower you.
And help the community move from surviving to thriving. Take a look in the mirror. What do you see?
Is it low self-esteem or confidence?
Rejection or acceptance?
This is what we need to ask ourselves.
Tune in to see how you can change your reflection in the mirror.
And build that coherent vision for your life.
So don't miss out on this life-changing word. Follow us on all our social media platforms, Facebook and Instagram,
TikTok and YouTube. And don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe so that you can get all the updates of our great content to come.
Are you struggling to manage your expenses? Do you want to know how to turn liabilities into assets? Join us for a free webinar with Enrico Cobre, an experienced economist and financial professional. Learn how to harness the power of your expenses and unlock your financial potential. This webinar is free, so don't miss this amazing opportunity to gain knowledge and financial freedom and start turning your liabilities into assets.
All right, you're back to Together We Rise. I'm Sean.
I'm Nikea.
And we are talking about when you're looking in the mirror, do you feel rejected or do you feel accepted? And we just was kind of going into, when you're getting in the middle of that crisis. And what is a crisis? A crisis is when all hell is breaking loose around you, right? And this could be something that takes you down. Now, here's the thing: is there's a Chinese definition of crisis, and you may or may not have heard this, but in their characters, it means danger and opportunity. So when there's a crisis, there's a danger, but there is also an opportunity. And that is something that I have came to realize, that when these crises happen to in your life, you can choose to, because you never feel good in the middle of a crisis, right? It's never feeling good. So when or when anyone is in the middle of that crisis, and you have this things that says beating on you,
right,
and you have, like you said, that you look in the mirror, you're like, man, who is that person? What's going on? Like, how this happened to me? Why am I here? How there was a song, how did I get here? Like all that stuff. Like, you're just in the middle of that crisis. But guess what? There is an opportunity for you to become better. But there's some things that we have to do, right?
That opportunity for you to become better is to reset you, to get to know you and who you are. And for me, it took me a minute to really find me. But in my quiet moments, and in the time that I was I was rejecting me, I had to ask myself, why was I rejecting me? Because these things just didn't happen overnight. So I had to go back to certain things that happened in my childhood. Times when I was in everybody else's shadows. Times when I was sexually assaulted. Times when I was not being seen. Times when I wasn't being heard. And I had to actually take the time out and write down those different situations. But not only write down those situations, but then find out the emotion that came along with those situations. And when I found out the emotions that came along with those situations, I realized I wasn't mad at the people. I was mad with myself, because I'm like, how could I allow certain things? How did I miss this? How could I not see this? And those things right there, I had to come to grips with. And I had to forgive me. A lot of times we go through life thinking that we have to forgive others and forget all about what we have to do for ourselves. And that was one of the biggest things for me that started the reset of me, is when I started looking at those things, identifying those emotions, and then forgiving myself. It was one of the things that Sean always told me, that the best me has to forgive the worst me for messing up.
That's right. And that's a very important part, is that your best self is yelling at your worst self, right? And like how, like all those different things that like my wife was saying about it. So you have to be able to say for your best self to forgive your worst self for whatever that is, and you have to forgive yourself because you why because quite honestly God had forgiven you. So one of the things that I know, my wife have built this amazing curriculum, and we have been able to work through that. Basically, forgiveness is a process,
Yes.
and we've been able to help people through that process. But the very first thing to know about that is that God had forgiven you. Actually, everything that you went through already, God knew that was going to happen. So first thing, it wasn't a surprise to him. Okay, this is not anything like, oh, wait a minute, how that happened? No, he knew that happened. So he knew that actually that then that thing happened, he was going to give you an opportunity to be able to rely upon him or not. Now, if you go, pick this day, good or evil. When I'm saying that, you're making that decision, but this is the chance. This is the opportunity for you to realize that you could do something
And
great.
so one of the biggest things that I say in that whole process is the first one is that we have to now receive, because God is offering us forgiveness. It's being offered. It's not something where he's asking us to apologize for being disobedient in the Garden of Eden, because that's where the first rejection took place. But then there was a second Adam who brought acceptance, which was Jesus Christ. So that was God's way of offering us forgiveness. And so now we have to take that first step and to be able to start healing from the inside out by accepting God's forgiveness, which is accepting Jesus Christ, who is this Adam that brings us into acceptance. A lot of us is still running because we have all these emotions that we're holding inside that are negative emotions, and we don't know how to forgive ourselves. So now we don't know how to accept and know that we are accepted of him.
Now, this is the thing that I think a lot of people in that process forget. So, they have a question about. It's like, well, it will happen to me. Like they
Yes.
did it to me. What is it for me to forgive? Like what? But they don't realize that they're still in that middle of that. So that's that thing. So can you explain that? What that person that says to you, well, wait a minute, they did it to me. Like I didn't do it to them. I should.
Right.
They did it to me.
That's why the second step, everybody jumps to the last step, which is not forgiving the other person, is offering that other person forgiveness. That is really the last step. But most people want to say you have to forgive others because forgiveness is for you, not for them. The biggest thing that we're overlooking is that we are reflecting. So let's just say a person did something to you and you did absolutely nothing to them. They betrayed you. They betrayed your trust. But what you're upset about is how could you have missed it? You're looking at yourself like, man, I should have been smarter than that. I should have saw it coming. So yes, you're upset with them, but you're more upset with yourself that you missed it, that you allowed them to come that close to you in order for that to happen. So in order to get to forgive them or to even offer forgiveness, you first have to forgive yourself. So you have to look at that situation, attach the emotions that comes with it that you really feel inside, and say, I forgive me. Once that load is lifted, now you can look at that situation, removing all emotions. So now you can look at that person for who they truly are, and now you can offer them forgiveness by saying, whatever I did that made you think you could do this to me is what you're saying you're sorry for. And you know what? It's going to blow their mind because they're looking like, whoa, what? You have now elevated above them. And now once you offer them forgiveness, then guess what? That final step is you can release them. This is where Christ says you can shake the dust off your feet and you can keep it moving.
Well, one of the things that I love in Romans, it says that has thou faith, have it to thyself before God. Happy is he that condemneth not, that condemn not himself in things which he allowed.
Exactly.
Actually, that's what God is definitely saying, that
Saying the same
you
thing.
have things that happen and you allow, so you feel, because we always feel, so you still, even if you did nothing wrong, you feel something about how did I let that happen? Why didn't I act faster? Why didn't I change the course quicker? What, all those little things you have the chance to forgive yourself with, to make sure that you are not being manipulated. Because the thing is, once those things are still there, the enemy will come and manipulate you on those open wounds, because they're open wounds, and he will continue to manipulate you to go down the wrong road or a different avenue, to keep resentment, to be angry, to be hurt. And those things, if you don't get healed from those things will still be there. Even if you had no, it's kind of like if you went in a war and you didn't do anything, you wasn't shooting anyone, but you stepped on a landmine, or a landmine blew up and it hurt you. You could still be healed.
That's it.
But you could still keep the anger that, even though you did nothing wrong, that happened to you. Or unless you let that go, you will always be locked into that place.
That's it. You'll be stuck.
You'll
be stuck right there in that trauma. And now your vision is distorted. You see, but your vision is not clear. It's distorted because now it's filled with all the emotion from that landmine that hit you.
So now when we come back, I know we're going to be wrapping up and coming back, but when we come back, we want to dive a little bit more into that forgiveness part, to see, making sure that we know how we all could build ourselves up and grow in that area of forgiveness of ourselves, of other people, and also making the demand on our spirit to be free, right?
Yes,
you want to be free.
You gotta release it.
Because when you're free, you're accepted, right? You feel accepted by it, and you feel good again. So on that note, we'll be back with Together We Rise right after these messages.
I am crying. Are you listening? Have you ever felt invisible and ignored? No one cares what you think or values what you say? In her book, Nikia describes how she was constantly compared to others, which caused her to seek outside approval, searching for acceptance and validation externally, until she found the strength and her hidden power within herself to make a stand. She takes the readers on a journey of self-acceptance and teaches the important lesson of listening to your inner self and refusing to seek external validation. With the help of the Holy Spirit, she grows both emotionally and spiritually, and no matter what comes her way, she perseveres and rises up from the ashes.
The future of health. Health is coming. Change your life in just 30 seconds. Everything your body needs. Made in the USA. Absorbed within 30 seconds. Organic and non-GMO. 10 times more effective than pills. Easy to use on the go. And Vision U, the future of health, in your hands.
Hi, my name is Lorna, and this is my first Rise conference.
Oh, I thank God because I attend this Rising, and then I learned a lot.
I really enjoyed all the speakers. To listen to him more, to listen to his guidance.
Don't lose hope.
Because he knows best for me.
I'm blessed.
And I'm looking forward to many more.
And we're back with Together We Rise. I'm Nikia.
I'm Sean. And we've been talking about looking in the mirror, and if it have been feeling accepted or feeling rejected.
Yes.
And now how to build back your acceptance, right? Part. Yes. We want to get in there, and we've been talking about the forgiveness part, right? Which is really exciting because my wife really been working on that.
And Sean just basically let the cat out the bag. I am currently still working on that project, which is my third book, Forgiveness is a Process.
Yep.
And I will be having workshops on it. We have did some test pilots of the workshop, and a lot of people have been getting full healing.
I'm excited about it.
As going through the process. But I could tell my husband is very excited about it, because he just kind of just poof, let's just throw it
Let
in
the cat
here.
out the bag.
You know,
little cats, a bunch of them. Like some of them had little stripes and all that.
And
but
he have issues hurting cats.
Yes, because it's definitely part of ministry, hurting cats. Anyway, what we're going to be talking about is that forgiveness part, right? And we kind of jumped in already a little bit. You said it's 4 parts or something like that?
It's really 4 parts
okay.
The process.
So part 1 is what?
Okay, the first part of the process, again, he's letting me go more detail, but this is the project I'm currently working on. But the first process is receiving God's forgiveness, which is accepting Jesus Christ and that salvation. And that enters you into the house of acceptance, where now you're leaving the Adam who rejected God, and now you're receiving the Adam who now brings you into acceptance and brings you back and connects you back to God. Now, spiritually. So your spirit comes back alive, because before Christ we're spiritually dead, and then once you accept Jesus Christ and receive that salvation, your spirit, your inner spirit, comes alive.
And that's a key revelation, that we all going through this rejection, and most people go through some type of rejection. Okay,
and rejection is a spirit.
It definitely is. Now, one of the things that when we went back and studied on this and really look at that whole thing with Adam and Eve, and what was the key, what was the biggest sin, if you want to talk, it's not just eating the fruit, or exactly. That it's that they rejected God because of that. They literally said, hey, you know what, that information that serpent gave in us right now, we're going to do that and go against, which is rejection of what God told us. And so that literally was rejection. And then from that, you could see that they actually went into hiding and different things that people do that when they start feeling rejected.
Because all the emotions that was attached, the emotion of shame, the emotion of guilt, the emotion of being depressed, the emotion of being what's the other one?
There's emotions of like, well, they did it, not me.
Yes.
They're giving the blame over to everybody else. Hey, it's not me, but somebody else.
The emotion of disappointment because they looked at what the serpent said was a lie, so now they're disappointed that they listened to the serpent and not hold true to what God had told them. So it's a lot of emotions that's there, and we've even studied even further that when you're having when you have self-pity, or you're having that pity party, that there is 7 demons attached to that, which is demons are just basically negative emotions. So those negative emotions that overshadows you, that comes over you. And as they were saying, even when it came down to Cain and Abel, I think it was a story in Genesis about that even when Cain brought his offering to Christ, his intent with that offering wasn't his best. It was his first fruit, but it wasn't his best. And God knew it wasn't his best, because God knows our heart. And so those negative emotions of the spirit of rejection started creeping into Cain. And even then, God told him if he could master those emotions, because the enemy is creeping at our door when we get portrayed. When someone says something to us that's negative, when someone says something to us to hurt our feelings, those emotions are crouching at the door, which is the enemy is there at the door. But only you can open that door and let him in by not mastering the emotion, by not realizing what it is and casting it off of you, by now calling forth the fruit of the spirit. So if you're feeling unhappy, calling forth happiness. If you're feeling unease, calling forth peace. If you're feeling impatient, calling forth patience. That's how you can master those emotions. But a lot of times, you know what? We just open up the door, and guess what? The enemy can come in and attack us with those emotions.
Exactly. And that's something that we all have to know, that, and that was in Genesis chapter 4, by the way, you want to take a look at that. But that, when sin comes at the door, it doesn't matter who did it. Right,
exactly.
Right. It matters that you're feeling hurt, and see, the enemy one comes in, and one reason why the enemy, the enemy have a goal. They want to steal, to kill, or destroy you. That's their goal, right? It doesn't matter if you was the reason for it or not. Okay, and so they just want a avenue in there to pull you down, and to destroy you in some type of way. So we have to understand that, regardless of why or how you got there, you have to get better. You have to get healed, because God is all about healing. In case you didn't know, God is all about healing. He wants you healed. So in that place that you're now accepting God, right? Because Jesus Christ came basically, and he said, "Hey, I accepting you." He's not accepting you to say, "Hey, you have to change yourself before you come to me." He's going to accept you as you are, and then he could now work in you, and it's like to better you.
And that's the faith walk. So it's basically healing through faith, because the first step is the faith walk, believing that he is, and that he has already accepted you, and then receiving that. So now that's that first step of starting your healing, is that faith, being able to believe, and now taking the action by faith to now start walking through your healing process. I know we say forgiveness is a process, but forgiveness is just another way to say you're now going through your healing process, and you're now being healed from the inside out. A lot of times we want to try to get healed. We have this void on the inside, and we're looking at all these outside elements trying to fill that void, when that void can only be filled when we now start healing ourselves from the inside.
That's right. And forgiveness is kind of like that pill
That's
to
it.
start the healing process. So with that, it's so imperative that you do that. I'm going to say this again. If you haven't got a chance to check out my wife's books, she got 2 books out right now. What's the 2 books?
6 Ways to Conquer Your Fear, and the other one, I'm Crying, Are You Listening?
Okay, and you can get them where?
You can actually get them on Amazon. You can get them Barnes and Noble. It's 2 local places here. One is called Ebony Arts and Craft and Chesapeake Square Mall, and another one is called Positive Vibe 2 on Military Highway. Go there, check it out. The owners are great. They have some awesome stuff in their store. So you want to go there and get the book, but also check out what they also have there in their store.
Awesome. So also through our Rise Ministry, we are doing different programs that also will help with this part in building up yourself from being rejected to being accepted. And that's going to be including our relationship workshop.
That's it.
And our relationship workshop is talking about that relationship in a variety of different ways, how to build connection, how to work on that. And I think that regardless if you're single, if you're married, if it's about work, if it's with your children, wherever it is, you need to know how to relate and connect to each other. And we did all this
we
stuff.
Also have the strong workshop of that forgiveness is a process. That is a workshop. And 6 Ways to Conquer Your Fear is a workshop. So please reach out to us. We can get you in the workshop to help you become a better you.
Yeah, so definitely subscribe, like this, and retweet, and call somebody with smoke signals and let them know about Together We Rise, our podcast, and the different things we're doing. We look forward to talking to you next time. Stay tuned. We're going to be coming back with more stuff next week.
Yes. So thanks for tuning in to Together We Rise. I'm Nikia.
I'm Sean.
And we're signing off. We cordially invite you to our 5th annual Rise Conference held on July 13th and 14th. Tune in to hear an interview from one of our keynote speakers. Welcome to Together We Rise. I'm Nikia.
I'm Sean. And we are here to talk about the Rise Women's Conference. And we have one of our keynote speakers today,
Bishop Vanessa. So, hey, Bishop, how are you today?
Hello.
Can you tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Bishop Vanessa McFall. I've lived in Rayford all my life. I am the 3rd child of 5 children. My mother was Maggie Covington. I believe she was the best mother this side of heaven. She's been gone now for about 10 years. I married my soulmate 45 years ago. When I was 8 years old, God gave me a vision of who I would marry, even gave me his name. And sure enough, after God gave me that vision, about 7 years after that, I met him. And when I met him, he didn't know he was going to be my husband, but I knew I would be his wife.
Okay.
And shortly after that, we got married, and we've been together ever since. And out of this union, we have 4 adult children. And I have to say, I have some awesome children. We have 11 grandchildren. We have 2 daughter-in-laws. But over the years, our relationship became so strong, I just call them my children. Even when I introduce my children in church, I feel so guilty when I say I have 4 children. And they be looking at me real funny too, because they feel like they've been left out. So now I just tell people I have 6 children, but I also have to tell them the backstory, because most people know I only birthed 4 kids. But God has been so good to us. He actually gave us 6 kids.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I know that you have a very thriving ministry, both you and your husband together. Can you tell us a little bit about your ministry?
Our ministry actually started in AME Zion. We started in AME Zion about 20 years ago under the leadership of Dr. Otis Thomas McMillan, who is an awesome teacher, preacher. He sings. He's now our spiritual father and our advisor. Then the Lord called us into pastoring. Church started out as New Beginning Praise and Worship Ministry in 2009. And just recently, we went up on a new banner, Increase Apostolic International Ministries.
I love the name.
And it has been amazing.
I love that name.
Awesome. That sounds amazing. So tell us a little bit about the topic you're going to be speaking on at the Rise Conference.
I will be speaking on self-confidence. And one of the scriptures that I will be using on that Saturday is Philippians 4:13, where the Bible says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthened me. I find strength and confidence through my faith in God. And through my struggles, I found confidence. I found that I really can do anything as long as I stay connected to God.
And what would you hope people would take away from this? Like, what's like 1 or 2 key things you really would love people to do?
One of the main things I will hope the women will take away from this is the understanding of their worth and their value.
That's what
I want them to embrace their uniqueness and their gift. And it's okay to be different. Being different is an awesome gift to have. Because if we were all the same, wouldn't that be such a boring world? Yes.
Yes. All right. So I am so excited. I can't wait to this conference. But tell our audience why they should attend this conference.
For a renewed sense of confidence.
I like that.
Because life can damage your confidence. Trouble, trials, tribulation. When I preach in church, I believe now the struggle that men and women have is that the little girl and the little boy on the inside of us never get the opportunity to heal. And until the little person on the inside of us heal, the woman can't be free, neither can the man be free.
That's right. That's right. Well, hey, we want you to, we can't wait to hear you when you come here, Bishop. We can't wait to see that. So tell us when this is going to happen.
And again, you heard it here at Together We Rise. Do not miss the Rise Conference, July 13th and 14th.
And basically, if you are hearing this and you send in either from that link or you put in or call us and give us this radio, you will be able to get a discount of $5.
So again, check us out with Together We Rise on Facebook, Instagram,
TikTok, and YouTube, and subscribe and like and share.
And remember that divided we fall,
but together we rise.